island or not, to compel or become government to comply with these agreements. We're going to present Wabauskang Skweyiu the William Irvine Justice Award at this service. Because of the rapid need to change to a multi-platform format, she has requested to do this in the future. We will plan an in-person celebration to honor her and her extensive work. She teaches truth, initiates, co-creates, facilitates, organizes, recruits new leaders, changes minds, open hearts, and makes her world a better place, and ensures her legacy is one of peace, love, understanding, and much-needed change, even conciliation. We wish her well on her upcoming trip to Australia to continue her work training leaders, speaking truth, and being present at Australia's referendum. The question that will be put to voters is whether to alter the Constitution to recognize the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. Watch the news on October 14th, 2023.
Good day, everyone. I am the Reverend Samaya Oakley, and I use she, her, and hers pronouns. Just before we turn and greet our neighbors, let's all take a moment to wave to those who are joining us, and that includes me, via Zoom today. So I'd love to sort of see you wave to everyone. Oh, well. Oh, well, and for those of you who are attending in person, I invite you to turn to one person who is sitting near to you.
I'm sorry I have to interrupt you, but we can't hear anything of what you're saying.
Oh. How did that happen? It was working before. It's picking up our audio and transcribing. Can you hear me now? Oh, dear.
Please put on here, Zoom.
Is this working?
Is this working? No, it really isn't. Sorry, Samaya. You and I are having a private conversation, yet everybody in the hall is wondering what happened. I am too. Share sound. She moves.
Technical issues are temporary. Could the piano player play some music?
I need to hear you saying things, Samaya.
Okay, I will be talking. Let me know when I need to stop talking.
Yeah, you're coming through on Zoom, so it's not that you're muted. It's just us not inviting you into the hall. All right, Jim, I want you to start unmuting each channel one by one. Oh, you keep speaking music.
Okay, I will continue to keep speaking until you tell me not to. Delight is jealous to affirm that delight is ever waiting for great like truth is ever waiting for mind, and that new love is ever waiting and we be open to this light.
Okay.
And it brings in this spirit. Children have such a wonderful word.
You know what? We're going to try this. Everybody, just mute everything. I'm going to pull these all down again. Okay, let's try 20 first.
All right, so let's continue to try this.
That didn't work. How about?
Oh dear.
What about this?
I was really hoping we could turn and talk to our neighbors for just a moment.
Yeah.
especially when these technical glitches happen. Much from them, we learn patience, grace, passion. And we'll get there.
Okay. Nope. Which channel is this? That's this channel. Really?
Now we're getting back there.
I'm getting crackling
Yes, and feedback.
and feedback. Okay, that's no good. How is it that Zoom?
These things happen.
Usually 19 and
Yes,
20.
it moves.
So the sound from the Zoom should be coming through UCCAV.
It should be coming through UCCAV. Question is how to get from the UCCAV into the sound panel.
It's channel 20 or something, is it not?
Yeah, normally it is. Why is it not?
I guess there's something we forgot to check.
Yes, this is the most basic thing.
Is there a mute button on the computer we turned on somehow?
It's going into Zoom. Me too. So, Samaya,
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yes.
Why can't they hear you in the hall? Is my question. I know you can't answer it.
Oh, yes, I know I can't answer it. I wish I could.
I beg your pardon? Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Yes.
uh,
I think so.
Reverend Samaya, come here. Mariana Louise has got an idea.
all right.
Hi, Samaya. I have the chalice lightings, and I can start if we need to, and then we'll figure out how to get your sermon. But we could start other things.
All right. I can also email you my sermon as well if you have access to email.
Well, if these guys have access to email, I only I don't know what I can do with my phone. It's so tiny with email.
Oh, do you need
Oh.
to read the service? I can get you.
Why don't you start?
Christopher can get it if he'll talk to you about how to get it, and I'll start the service.
Okay, thank you.
So I am able to log on to my email from this computer if you need me to, and then print it out.
Okay. I'll email it to you right now.
Thank you. This means essentially we're dropping you and Mitch and everybody else from the service. It's no good because we've got 19 other people. Okay, so it'll be.
I'm Mariana Louise Kovar, and I am the service leader this morning, and we are going to go to Plan B. So I think we're a little late, so and we've already waved to Zoom, so we'll just not worry about greeting our neighbors for this morning, and we will begin with the chalice lighting. We light this chalice to affirm that new light is ever waiting to break through to enlighten our days. That new truth is ever waiting to bring through to illumine our minds. And that new love is ever waiting to break through to warm our hearts. May we be open to this light and to the risk possibilities that it brings. In this spirit, we light our chalice. And now we'll sit back and center ourselves and enjoy our prelude.
Forget that for now.
Christopher Short, no.
Good morning. So good to see you all. My name is Peter Campbell. I use the pronouns he, him, and I'm delighted to be speaking with you today. Unfortunately, Sheila is out sick again, so I'm taking over for her today. So we have an inspiring day planned for everyone today. The theme is, what's love got to do with it? Today we'll explore how our understanding of love has changed over time. As many of you no doubt know, Orange Shirt Day is coming up on Saturday, September 30th, less than a week away. The commemorative day is an opportunity to understand the love of a little Indigenous girl, the love that she had for her home, for her grandmother, and a new orange shirt, all of which were tragically taken away. Orange Shirt Day began in recognition of the story of Phyllis Jack, now Webstad. A member of the Shuswap Nation's Canoe Creek Band, she, like many Indigenous children of her time, was forcibly sent to a residential school, far away from family and the community that she had known. When she tells the story of going to the mission school, she recalls, "I remember going to the Robson store and picking out a shiny new orange shirt. It had string laced up in the front, and it was so bright and so exciting. Why, it was just like I was going to school. When I got to the mission, they stripped me and took away my clothes, including that new orange shirt. I had never saw it again. I didn't understand why they wouldn't give it back to me, and why it was mine. My grandmother had bought it for me. The color orange has always reminded me of that day and how my feelings didn't matter, how no one cared, and how I felt like I was worth nothing. All of us little children were crying, and no one cared. That's why today and every day we honor her story by acknowledging the harm of the residential school system, what it did to the children's sense of self-esteem, to their sense of well-being, and that the intergenerational effects of mistreatment are indeed our responsibility to correct, both today and every day. We can do this by dismantling the present-day failings of the foster care system, which separate Indigenous children from their families and communities at higher rates than during the 60s coup and at the height of the residential schools era. We can dedicate ourselves to healing the pain and the cycles of colonialism by raising children to know and love themselves, and to understand and respect Indigenous peoples and their traditional ways of knowing. We participate in this Orange Shirt Day as an affirmation of our commitment to ensure that everyone around us, especially the children we protect and love, know that they matter, all of them. In this spirit of love, the children and youth will be creating an orange shirt memory picture where they can draw pictures of the things, people, family members, and all other things that they love and know that they will never be taken away. This week's quote author is unknown, but one that I feel in my heart. If I could give my child three things, it would be the confidence to always know their self-worth, the strength to follow their dreams, and the ability to know how truly and deeply loved they are. Please join me, and Christian here, as we sing our children and youth downstairs.
Greater than
now have our candles of care and concern. I have Reverend Samaya's script, and I will do my best. It's the first time I've seen it. And we'll talk about the learnings from this after, as we're planning worship services in the future. But I'm going to read her words because it's easier than me trying to turn it around. In my short time with you, I know that this community that cares for each other deeply and continues the learning practice of what it means to hold each other well. One of the ways this is done is to take time to acknowledge the very real journey of discovering what it means to be human in a chaotic world like this morning. In so doing, we make time each week to acknowledge both the joys and sorrows that we hold. Today, in particular, we hold the family of longtime member John Backhouse in our hearts. We learned of his death just last week. John and his wife Helen were active and held many positions here at Calgary Unitarians before moving to Edmonton. If you would like to send a card of sympathy to the family, please email Loretta Biasuti so that she can send you their contact information. For those of you attending online, Christopher is putting that into the chat for you. We light this candle in honor of the pain and sorrow that we each hold in our hearts. Joseph Campbell tells us that we cannot cure the world of sorrows, but that we can choose to live in joy. There are so many joys and delights that we hold in our daily lives, whether it be gratitude for one we love, for the changing of the seasons, or the simple act of a smile given in the grocery store. In honor of all the joys and delights in our lives, we light another candle. Our candle of global concerns comes closer to home. We light a final candle on this Sunday before the National Truth and Reconciliation Day in recognition that over 10,000 unmarked graves of children that are being found near residential schools. Let us dedicate ourselves to healing the pain and cycles of colonialism by raising children to know and love themselves and to understand and respect Indigenous people and systems. And now we'll have a time of meditation. The meditation words will be followed by a silence and then music. The words to take us into our meditation, our time of silence, are by Peter Morales, who was the president of the UUA from 2009 through 2017. After I have read them, we will sit together in silence for about 2 minutes and be brought out of the silence by Christian singing our musical interlude 352. Feel free to allow the music and words to envelop you in love, either silently or by joining with Christian to sing the song. The words will be projected for you. O Spirit of life and love that lights within us and among us, be with us now. Help us to take our history into our hearts as well as our minds. Open us so that we can feel our past lives in us, the joy, the disappointment, the passion, the pain, the hope. Let the past, all of it, live in the core of our being. Let us be humble. Let us be honest. Help us to take instruction from our past and let us also be inspired. But more than anything, let us feel your spirit, the spirit of deep compassion here among us this very moment. O Spirit of love and life, help us to know, truly know, that we are your people, bound together by our collective memory and, more importantly, by our shared aspirations. We are not perfect. We mess up. Sometimes we talk too much, yet we are drawn together by what we love, by what we hold sacred, and by a vision of what we may yet create together. Finally, tender and gentle Spirit, guide us, inspire us, embolden us, for our work, your work, O Spirit, is not yet done. In this spirit we commit. In this spirit we enter the reverent space of silence.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
You'll notice how instantly I recognize the mic's not there. Have you noticed that in our worship service announcements this church year, it comes with a question? Have you noticed? No. Has anyone noticed? No. Well, now you know, and now you'll be keeping your eye out for it. The question for this service is, how has your understanding of love changed over the years? And I thought it might be interesting to try and answer that question, so I jumped up to be the service worship arts associate for today. So, at my age, we're talking about a lot of years. And so I'm going to cover the first 20 to 30 years with one statement. I had a rocky start and failed to thrive as an infant. And my mother decided it was unwise to get too attached to me until she knew for sure I was going to live. Yeah. So throughout those early years, it was clear to me that a love pilot light had been installed by my creator, but the ignition switch instructions were very confusing. And so that might seem like bad news, but the good news is that there's been a lot of improvement for a development of understanding of love during my youth and young adulthood. The subsequent years, from my late 20s to the present, were informed by my participation in several welcoming Unitarian Universalist congregations and a series of mystic experiences that have incredibly enriched my life. Now, it might help you to know what I'm talking about when I use the word love. And love is a hard thing to pinpoint, but those in the know have narrowed down the common denominator of all the varying kinds of love to one characteristic. Love is wanting the other to be happy and well. When I consider the other, I include the entire interdependent web, not just human beings. And the opposite of love can range from feelings of indifference to hatred. My personal definition of love comes from the credo, or the statement of belief, that I identified for myself when I did the Unitarian Universalist Building Your Own Theology course. And my definition is, love is an all-encompassing wonder and compassion that requires no justification and holds within it duality, contradiction, and a oneness that is the very foundation of life. So that covers the word question or love in the question. The other key word in the question was understand. How has my understanding of love changed? If I use synonyms like explain, fathom, grasp, or interpret, I would have to say I do not understand love. But other synonyms like accept, perceive, sense, identify with, I got it. What I notice is the first synonyms were a head words kind of thing, and the second set was more of a heart feelings thing. And although I'm pretty good with both words and heart, I'm better with heart. So it seems to me that if I approach from the head, love needs to be justified, quantified, make sense, and from the heart, compassion, interdependence, and honoring inherent worth are most important. So I'm going to list some of the things I have learned and the ways my understanding of love has changed over the years. 1, although love should not have to be earned or justified, loving is a lot more enjoyable in the presence of reciprocity or equal engagement. 2, effective standing up to injustice requires a parking of black-white, right-wrong thinking. And it requires a strong, calm presence grounded in love. You can say a lot more things if you're smiling than if you look angry, or they'll hear them anyways. 3, although love can be soft and cuddly and warm and fuzzy, it can also be accompanied by pain, sorrow, and fear. It requires a willingness to be vulnerable, but don't be stupid. 4, Reverend David Miller wrote a piece on right relations as a spiritual practice that I love, and I practice all 18 steps. The one I remember and appreciate most is number 18, and number 18 says, it comes in a list of questions that you ask yourself as you're trying to be in right relations. What is the most loving thing I can do or say right now? And that's the one I default to. So, if you have any thoughts about the question for this week, or if you've already thought about it, which you may not have because you didn't know there was a question, but if you're interested in exploring an answer, I would be delighted to hear your thoughts and to have a conversation with you. And I've also brought several copies of the list of 18 questions that Reverend Miller's Spiritual Practice of Right Relations uses, if you want to see what they are and take them with you. Just checking my order of service here. Okay, so now it's time for Samaya's sermon. Okay. And once again, I've never seen it before, so I'm going to do my best here. What's Love Got to Do with It? By Reverend Samaya Oakley. First off, let me tell you how grateful I am that even though I have COVID, I'm still able to be with you. It's with, well, she's here, okay? See her? Is she able to speak? No, okay.
Can you hear me? No.
It's with a grateful heart that I hold how well we've been able to pivot very quickly for this service. It's a testament indeed to the strength of this congregation, and it really is. Thank you everyone for wearing your orange shirts or something orange in honor of Orange Shirt Day and our National Truth and Reconciliation Day in Canada. My heart breaks with the knowledge that we have over 10,000 unmarked graves of Indigenous children that have been found, and there are so many more yet to be found. This week marks the 10th anniversary of Orange Shirt Day, a day that has become part of an effort to promote awareness and education of the residential school system and its impact. It's the impact it's had on Indigenous communities for over a century. My friends, I call it what it was, a cultural genocide that continues today. Wearing our orange shirts is just one small way that we can express our love, something that is so desperately needed these days. And there are those who hold different ideas of what it means to love the world. Just this last week across Canada, there were protests calling for parental rights to protect children from the inclusion of 2S LGBTQIA plus material in our schools. Let me unpack the acronym for you. It means two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, was an I, and asexual. The plus refers to those who identify as pansexual, agender, genderqueer, bigender, gender variant, and pangender. The moment that is going to stay with me for a long time is a woman who walked by us, who made the sign of the cross as she walked in front of us, all the way down the block until she crossed the street to gather with the people who were protesting. What struck me most about it is that by the very act of crossing herself in front of us, she was invoking her idea of the divine to protect her from us. Her idea of love is very different than my idea. I draw the circle wide to include everyone. In the words of Alberta NDP leader Rachel Notley, this was a protest that was designed, quotation marks, to divide us and spread fear when we should be embracing love and compassion. Let us be perfectly clear. If one group's human rights are cast aside, more will follow. Those who seek to normalize trans hate will then move on to racism and misogyny. We can't let that happen, end quote. As I left, I found myself reflecting on something that the Reverend Chris Buis, minister of the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, wrote after a man walked into their church on a Sunday afternoon and started shooting back in 2008. Some of you may remember this. Reverend Chris wrote that their congregation has, quotation, being healed by the feeling that there is a love greater than our theological differences, a compassion that is not limited by the boundaries of any creed. I firmly believe now more than ever that love is stronger than death and love is more powerful than hate, end quotation. Like Reverend Chris, I believe that our living tradition is all about love. And let me tell you more about that. 60 years ago, two religions merged to form one denomination. Unitarians were known for being in their heads, and the Universalists came more from the heart. There seemed to be something missing when they operated independently of each other, and when they merged, they made a spiritual whole. In so doing, a living tradition was formed, coming from a strong past that provided a foundation and willingness to respond to the needs of our times and the longings of our spirit. A living tradition that brought together the heart of universalism and the headiness of Unitarianism. Love was central to universalism from early on. It was Universalist Hosea Ballou who refined the Universalist theological understanding of love. In his treatise on the Atonement of 1805, he tells us that, quotation, there is nothing in heaven above nor the earth beneath that can do away with sin but love. And we have reason to be eternally thankful that love is stronger than death, end quote. Love was the conflation of power and goodness that comprised God's agency in the world. And for the Unitarians who came to the partnership, my colleague Alice Blair Wesley tells us that they saw their task as loving God and loving one another so well that the members might learn together the divine will of the loving God for the whole society, insofar as that will relates to justice, peace, and reasonable laws. And if so, the members would be called, compelled, bound to proclaim it and try to bring it to bear in their whole society. Our Unitarian Universalist ancestors held in their hearts a deep, abiding love for this world and entrusted future generations to love the world the best way they could, given the circumstances of the day. I hear this as a call for each one of us to do what we can to build the common good for all that is our life. Our love calls us to do the hard work in this world. That means us. We have been given a task to love the world with all our hearts. And here's the thing. Even when we love the world with all our hearts, there are times we're going to get it wrong. It's how we learn to love better, how we be more fully human in this world we live in. To help us along in this daunting task of loving the world, we initially drew up 6 principles at the time of the merger in 1961 that both denominations could live with a promise to revisit them each 15 years to see if they were still relevant. Yes, you heard it right. There were only 6 principles at first to help us discern how to love and express our values in our own lives, in our communities, and in the world at large. Believe me, coming up with the wording of these principles came with heavy wordsmithing, and compromises were needed on both sides. It nearly derailed the merger. After an all-night parliamentary negotiation and debate, they were agreed upon. Unfortunately, these principles didn't really gain traction in our congregations, and they didn't gain much relevance until religious educators brought them to life in their classrooms with children and youth. We again kept our promise to revisit these principles each 15 years in 1985, when we adopted the 7 principles that we know today, as well as 5 of the 6 sources we currently hold. The 6th source was adopted in 1995. In 2016, Canadian Unitarian Universalists added our 5 aspirations to aid us in holding love at the center. As well, in 2021, Canadians added an 8th principle by covenanting to affirm and promote individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and systemic barriers to full inclusion in ourselves and our institutions. Our principles, sources, and aspirations have guided us through these years as we grew in our understanding of who we are in the world, always holding love at the center of this living tradition. And Christopher, if you could please show us slide 20. The Unitarian Universalist Association is currently reworking the principles into common values that are held by Unitarian Universalists with love at the center. These values are reflective of our principles, and I can see and hear echoes of the principles in these values, and they do something that the principles don't do. They hold love at the center. Just to illustrate this even further, one of the great hymn writers of the Iona community, John Bell, says that, quotation, "Our theologically is shaped more by our singing than it is by preaching or teaching," end quote. So I begin to wonder, what is it that we tend to sing about the most as Unitarian Universalists? Slide 21, please. A colleague of mine, the Reverend Dan Schatz, took all the words from our Gray hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition, and put them into a word art generator. How a word art generator works is that the more times a word is used, the larger the word becomes. Here's the image of the word art that was generated. What word is in the center of the graphic? You're right, it's love. Love is at the center of who we are in this living tradition. Slide 22, please. He went a step further and put all the words into our Teal hymnal, Singing the Journey, into a word art generator. And this is the image that was generated that time. And what do you see in the center? Love. It's even bigger than the Gray hymnal. Thank you, Christopher. This enduring flame of love is fueled by our living tradition, one that constantly calls to us to re-examine our beliefs, our values, and build the common good. As you go about your week, ask yourself what the most loving thing you can do right now. What is the most loving thing you can do right now? Ask it when the driver cuts you off, or the person in the grocery store lineup is clearly grumpy, or the next time we do a call out for people to attend a counter protest. In this time of such deep polarization, let us reclaim love as a force for justice, a love that holds at its center all of those who are in harm's way, be it refugees, immigrants, Muslims, Sikhs, Jews, queer, trans, and indigenous people. And I'm going to stick in a vote for the planet and the other creatures here. And may it ever be so. Amen. Namaste. Blessed be. So our offering comes next, I think. Our September for Others is the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth. And we do have some information about that. The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather here to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. Here at Calgary Unitarians, we commit living our Unitarian principles by donating half of our offering each month to a different charity. Today is the last Sunday to count your donation to the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth, USAY for short, with others from Calgary Unitarians. USAY is a not-for-profit organization that provides programming for Indigenous youth in Calgary. If you're curious about them, Michael Leboildus gathered some promotional material from them, and it's available in Wickenden Hall after the service. One small note, if this is your first Sunday with us, please allow the basket to pass you by. We are grateful for your presence. We will now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. May this offering express our thanks for its blessings, and may this spirit of generosity nourish our works here and in the world. My friends, my benediction for you is, as we leave our worship time, is a simple one: to simply love the heck out of the world. Because of love, we cannot keep silent, and we will bear witness to the pain and joy of living in this world. Because love reaches out, we join hands with our partners. Because love is sacred, we worship together. Because love delights in this community and friendship, we celebrate tighter. Because love opens us at the core of our being, it pushes and encourages us to learn and to be moved and thus be changed. Because love is strong, we will prevail. Maybe not today. Maybe not even next week or next month. Love the heck out of the world because love is stronger than hate. Love is tough, it endures, and that, my dear ones, is enough. Our closing song.
Just before we close, I just want to do a few thank yous here. This was a somewhat special service, and so I'd like to congratulate the choir for performing just with reduced numbers. Thank you so much for coming. We've had COVID run through the group, so it's been it's been an interesting adventure, but I love it. And I'd also like to thank Mariana Louise for stepping in. Amazing. And a big thank you to our guest musicians, Gavin and Jonathan, for their wonderful talk. And then I also have to mention our wonderful tech volunteers. They had a lot to do this morning. Christopher and Jim, thank you. And we're going to Keep On Moving Forward. I don't have the words, actually, so I'm going to be reading off the screen, if that's okay. Oh. One, two. Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Reach across our borders. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna reunite the family. Reunite the family. Reunite the family. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward, never turning back, never turning back. never turning back, never turning back.
We extinguish our chalice. Let us each be ready to take a spark of this flame as we extinguish it and place it in our hearts. Let this spark of light that we place on our hearts remind us of our hope for the future. May it be a reminder to show courage in the face of crisis. And most of all, may the abundant love this flame represents ripple out into the world through our actions. So after the postlude, I invite you all to stay for coffee. We do have coffee. For those of you on Zoom, there will be a link to the coffee chat, in the chat, sorry. And please do get together in the chat and visit. I think Reverend Samaya is going to be there. And for the rest of you, we'll all meet in Wickenden and enjoy our coffee. Now for our postlude.